Hi, I would like to discuss Chapter 8 in your Yoder and Wise book, Understanding and Designing Organizational Structure. I'll let you read through the objectives independently. We're going to talk about the relationship of mission, vision, and philosophy. Vision is oriented towards the future. What is our purpose in the future? A philosophy is a written statement that tells the values and beliefs held about the nature of work to be completed to reach the mission. So what is a mission? The mission defines the organization's reason or purpose for being. Types of organizational structure. One type that we're going to talk about is shared governance. Shared governance is well documented in the literature. It is found in hospitals that have achieved magnet status because it ensures that the person closest to an issue is the one addressing the issue. In this model, nurses are held accountable and responsible for evidence-based practice and making informed decisions that impact patient outcome. Over time, a path for shared governance has evolved with recognized steps or phases. So the 3 steps are that 1, representative staff nurses are members of clinical forums. 2, representative staff belongs to committees. And number 3, representative staff nurses belong to councils with authority of making decisions. The big thing about shared governance is that the nurse is involved in the decision-making process, that upper level management doesn't make all those decisions. Okay, just a little more about mission statements. Mission statements are important for nurses to review before they select a place to work and make sure that the organization's mission is consistent with your personal beliefs and values. The mission sets the stage by clearly defining the intent and goal of the unit or the organization. And so is that what you as a staff nurse want to work towards? That's what you need to be thinking about. Here is an example of a mission statement. I'll let you look at it. But I encourage you to seek out the mission statement where you are working and the mission statement where you are doing your preceptorship at. Vision statements. I provided an example of a vision statement to be the premier neurological nursing unit in the state. Vision statements are future-oriented. They're purposeful statements designed to identify the desired future of an organization. Vision statements are used to ensure that everyone is pulling in the same direction. They are typically short, they're future-oriented, and they're purposely designed to identify where that organization is moving towards. A philosophy is a written statement that articulates the values and beliefs held about the nature of the work required to accomplish a mission. Once again, it is important for nurses to be involved in developing an organization's philosophy about patient care, nursing, health, and wellness. Think about if you sat down to write your philosophy about nursing profession, what would it say? Factors that should influence your philosophy are your views and your beliefs about management, leadership, staff, patients, health, nursing. Sometimes your philosophy is influenced by where you are in the stage of professional development. Are you a novice nurse or are you an expert nurse? What is your education level? Are you an entry-level nurse? Are you a PhD nurse? And what is your grasp of informatics or technology? Organizational structure, I think, is extremely important. It is the reflection of norms or tradition of the organization as exemplified through behaviors that illustrate the values and beliefs of the organization. We often hear the term organizational structure. Here's what it means. I know you've all been in some organizations where you've had an instance feeling about how formal it is, the concerns for others, the belief in the mission and the vision, and so forth. When the behaviors match the values and the managers rejoice. People are living the mission, and so the idea of what is printed is clearly in the care that is delivered. When the behaviors don't match the values, much work remains to be done. When there is discrepancy between the written word and how people actually perform their job, it becomes uncomfortable. No organization is going to rewrite its mission to match what is evident in behavior, so it is clear that it takes considerable effort to change people's attitudes and behaviors to match the organization's philosophy or culture. In general, when such discord exists, employees need assistance in knowing what the mission means or some organizational practice that is seen as hypocritical by employees must change. Values and beliefs and how they are enacted are also evidenced in the characteristic of the organizational culture. So what are some characteristics of organizational structure? Organizational designs are often classified by these three characteristics of complexity, formalization, and centralization. Complexity is concerned with the division of labor, how specialized that labor is, the number of hierarchy levels, and the geographical dispersion of the units. Division of labor and specialization refer to the designation of processes into tasks. An organizational chart is a graphic representation of work units and the working relationships. Hierarchy refers to the lines of authority and responsibility and how distant the patient-side nurse is from the chief nursing officer or maybe the chief executive officer. When we refer to chain of command, we're referring to the hierarchy and its vertical view of the organizational chart. Formalization refers to the amount of structure an organization has in terms of rules or policies. How often highly specialized organizations with lots of professionals have little formalization. And you do need policies, but I think you have to be careful in the number of rules that you create. Centralization refers to where decisions are made. If everyone has to ask someone else, the organization is highly centralized. If the organization is highly decentralized, each employee is in charge with making authority decisions to provide the best patient care. Highly centralized organizations delegate responsibility without authority to act. Patient-side nurses are often frustrated with this approach because they see the decisions being made involving care made by somebody who is not at the bedside. What are factors that influence your organizational development? It's consumers. So who are your consumers is how we sometimes address complexity, formalization, and centralization. Change. We know that healthcare continues to be in a state of change, and I don't think that will ever be different. What's your competition like around you? And then, of course, our organizational development also is always governed or influenced by legal and regulatory or regulations. Okay, we will talk about each one of these, but types of organizational structures. Organizations can be structured in a number of different ways, and understanding these types of structures allow a nurse to better understand how to achieve objectives within the organization. So there is a functional structure. It's arranged by departments and services according to specialty. This approach to organizational structure is common in healthcare, that departments providing similar functions report to common managers or executives. And so most hospitals are set up like this. Service line structures, or maybe we would call them product lines, they focus on various functions to provide a certain service or product. The function, for example, a cardiology service line at an acute care hospital might include professional tech and support personnel providing services to cardiac population. The manager or the executive in the service line would be responsible for chest pain evaluation center situated within the emergency department, the coronary care unit, the cardiovascular surgery intensive care unit, the telemetry unit, and the cath lab, and maybe like a cardiac rehab. So that kind of gives you an idea of what service line of structure. You see that sometimes, but not very often. What are matrix structures? Matrix structures are complex and designed to reflect both function and service in an intricate organizational structure. In a matrix and organization, the manager of the unit is responsible for service reports to both a functional manager and a service product line manager. So for example, a director of a pediatric nursing could report to both the vice president for pediatric services, which would be the service line manager, and a vice president of nursing, who is the functional manager. Matrix structures can be effective in current healthcare environments. And the last structure that we are going to go over are flat structures. Flat structures focus on delegation of decision making to professionals doing the work. They have full authority to take action without seeking input from others. The term flat signifies a removal of hierarchy layers, thereby granting authority to act and place authority at the action level. Decisions regarding work methods, nursing care of individual patients, and conditions under which employee works are made where the work is carried out. So we don't see this very often, but this would be a good structure. So in conclusion to this lecture, numerous options exist for the way in which nursing services can be organized. It is important to think about the characteristics of each type and how those fit with the way in which you wish to enact your professional career. Organizations do change, however, it is slow and it is a deliberate process.